Hello everyone, my name is RosetheBlackCat. Welcome to my channel. So today I was watching a stream, as you do, and discussing the PTB changes, and I said that I think the updated Fast Track perk is going to be really strong. And some people in the chat and the streamer were like, so it said something along the lines of like, killers always whine every time that a gen speed perk gets added, and then it comes out and it's fine, and either nobody runs it or it's not that big of a deal. And the thing is, I do agree with that statement in a lot of ways. Like, yes, I do think that killers often catastrophize changes. I think it's on both sides too, not just killers, but, you know, it is easy to see a perk come out that affects gen speeds and think, oh, just another fucking gen speed perk. This game's gonna die, all the killers are gonna go on strike, right? And get very doom and gloom about it. And yeah, like, for example, when the last update came out and the teamwork perks, Full Circuit and Soft Spoken came out, you know, I saw a lot of killer players saying, this is really bad, these are gonna make the game much worse, killers are not gonna want to play. You know, some people were different levels of dramatic or worried about it. And I was over here like, unfazed, right? Because I'm like, okay, you're taking a perk slot to get 5% extra gen speed. And yes, you can stack it with the other one and you get 10%, and then you stack it with Deja Vu and you get 16%, and then you stack it with Prove Thyself and you get 26%. Yes, but at the same time, you're taking a whole perk slot to get 5% at the end of the day. Not that crazy. This is different. What I'm trying to say is that I'm not a person to catastrophize about perks or updates. Like, at the end of the day, I think the game is going to be fine for the most part. This perk is not going to be super popular. You might not see it a lot. Maybe it's going to have a little phase where people run it for 2 days and then it falls off. That's probably true, but it's strong. This perk, what it currently does, is when another survivor is hooked, you gain 3 tokens. You consume all tokens after a great skill check on a generator. Each token consumed grants a 1% bonus progression for great skill checks when repairing generators. Let me show you what it's going to do. Same thing, when another survivor is hooked, you gain 3 tokens. You consume all tokens after a great skill check on a generator. Each token consumed grants 2% permanent progress on a generator. So basically, it goes from being 3% extra progress on every great skill check to being 6% permanent progress on top of the 1% that you get from the great skill check. Why is this a big deal? This is like adaptive difficulty that only favors the survivors. Imagine that the whole team is running this perk. Every time that someone gets hooked, you're going to get 18% permanent gen progress. If you're wondering, how does that math work out? When another survivor is hooked, so the person who gets hooked is not going to get fast track tokens. Everybody else gets 3 tokens. Each token gives 2% progress. 2 times 3, 6% permanent progress. 6 times 3, 18. So that's 18% permanent progress for every single time that somebody gets hooked if the whole team is running fast track. So that means that if you're trying to do the main gen and the killer has pop and they have pain res and they are desperately trying to hold on to these important gens, you know what I mean? Killers don't care about all the gens on the map. They don't care about the gens that are out in the corner by themselves. They care about the gens that are grouped up, that are in dead zones, gens that are easier to protect or in close proximity to one another. And survivors, just like the killer, they want to get these gens done so that they don't have to worry about them later, so that they can have more gen spread as the game goes on. And as the game goes on, with every single hook, it now becomes much easier to do these gens that are important. Every single time that you're able to get one of those great skill checks on that gen after somebody gets hooked, you're throwing, boom, 6% permanent progress. Let's say you can store up to 9 tokens, right? That's 18% that you can just have on your person. You can store this, right? So if other people get hooked 3 times, then that's your max, right? You can't store any more tokens than that. But realistically, it's like you're probably going to hit a great skill check on the gen before 4 other people get hooked back to back, right? You're probably not going to hit the limit, let's be honest. And every single time that you're hitting these great skill checks, you're just throwing permanent progress on gens. And if you're trying to attack these important gens, every single time that you do it, it gets easier. It becomes harder for the killer to hold that gen. So basically, the killer gets punished for doing their objective, and you get gen progress for free. And it's not just progress. This is a reduction of time required to do the gen, period. So if you have gen speed perks, those are going to be more effective because you don't have to do the gen for as long. And so the faster that you do it, the better. Okay, so let me pull you into a game so that I can actually show you an example of what's happening. So the PTB is closed currently, so we're not going to actually be able to see this perk until it hits live on March 17th. But for now I'm going to use Specialist, which is each time you open or rummage through a chest, gain 1 token up to 6. When you perform a great skill check on a gen, consume all tokens, then for each token consumed, reduce the maximum required generator progress by 4. So this is very similar in terms of that when you hit a great skill check on a gen, you use all your tokens and you get permanent gen progress. So this is like the only substitute I can find in the game. This perk, you have to go out of your way to go do chests, and then basically you convert time on chests into time on gens, which is like an interesting concept. It's kind of a less risky way to get gen progress, and then it's permanent too, so it kind of makes up for all the time that you spend opening the chest and looking for the chest. So it's a fine perk to me. You know, a lot of people don't run it. It's kind of gimmicky, but it works, and it's not really broken. Like, it still takes time for you to get gen progress. That's the point, right? Fast track, free progress. So I'm going to use the perk Specialist as a substitute for Fast Track because I can't use the new version of Fast Track yet. So we're on Dead Dog Saloon. This map is known for having like a really strong 3-gen usually around the Gallows. Usually the Gallows, and then there can be 2 gens behind it. So this map can be really strong because of the strong main building, and a lot of survivors are very familiar with it, and if they're bringing perks like Balance Landing, it can be really difficult for killers to hold on this map despite the relatively small size. So using this 3-gen is a common strategy, right? The reason that I believe Fast Track is so good is because it basically makes it so that with every hook that the killer gets, it becomes harder and harder for them to hold important gens, right? Because every time that a survivor gets hooked, if the whole team is running Fast Track, that's 18% permanent progress on gens for free, basically. If I start working on this gen right here, this is an important gen that we want to break. So next time that I get a great skill check, I'll be able to just permanently take this down by, I'm using Specialist as an analog, which is in multiples of 4, so it's going to be 16 charges, but I figure 16 is close enough to 18, just for demonstration. There we go. So you see now that you want to come and kick this gen. So she kicks it, right? And then I'm like, you know, probably gonna get chased or stealth and wait. And then now I come back and see, I don't have to do this gen for nearly as long. See how the meter is going up even faster than before. Okay, so now let's imagine the killer got another hook, right? And then next great skill check that we hit, there goes another 16% progress on the gen. And this happens with every single hook, you get 18% charges. Okay, can you kick that? Okay, so I had my killer friend kick this, so it's been regressing while I was getting the chest. So see, now it's lost a fair amount of progress. And then I wasn't able to get enough Specialist charges, we ran out of chests to match what a full team worth of Fast Track would have been like. But this is going to be another 12% progress, so that would be the equivalent of 2 survivors having Fast Track and getting it. So now you can see, look how fast this gen is progressing. If you look at the icon by my character, this gen only takes, now the bar is about half, so this gen is only going to take about 50 seconds for a single person to complete. And if we have people doubling on this gen, which they would be if we're assuming that everybody is putting Fast Track tokens into the same gen, how is the killer supposed to hold this, right? It's like an adaptive difficulty setting that only favors the survivors. So, you know, I've heard that a lot of killer players have the tendency to over-exaggerate the strength of gen speed perks and get scared whenever it happens, and to some extent I think that's true. But this is genuinely strong, and not only is it strong, but it takes away one of the greatest strengths that a killer has, which is holding a small radius. So yeah, as you can see, this perk makes a massive difference when it comes to killers trying to hold important gens. It dissolves the killer's ability to hold important gens for free. This is free. The better that the killer does, the more quickly they get hooks, the more quickly the generators fly. And there's no way to counter this. It's not like you can just not, like you could just slug, I guess, and just not hook survivors, but then that has all of its own problems and all of its own counters. It's like, oh, what are you going to do, just run more regression? Well, the more permanent progress that you get on a gen, the less the regression actually matters. So even if you take away the progress from the gen, let's say you pain res 20%, pop 15%, turn back the clock 10%, surge 8%, whatever. Let's say you take away gen progress, the survivors have a lower ceiling that they have to hit. And the more hooks that you get, the lower the ceiling gets. And I have to mention this again, it's for free. It does not take effort or time to get this progress. It is literally every time that the killer gets a hook. So you guys might not agree with me, and that's fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think. I don't think that this perk is going to be very popular. It's not fun, right? But how many times, especially for killer players, right, who play killer a lot, how many times have you seen hyper focus stake out, right? That combo of perks in your games. I usually see it almost at least once a game, right? Maybe not every game, right? But I see a lot of people running hyper focus and stake out. And this could be stacked with that, right? I mean, you're already hitting great skill checks to get hyper focus. Why not throw on fast track and get the permanent progress, right? How are killers supposed to hold gens when we're giving perks that there is no counter to? Like, at least a hyper focus stakeout, right? You could take that person out of the game. When we combine speed with reduction of time, we're creating a combo that just compounds the already existing gen speed problem into something that can't be ignored. So the reason I'm making this video is I want to bring awareness to this perk. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it, and honestly, if you're a killer, you should be a little bit worried. If you're a survivor, go fucking nuts. Get this thing nerfed. Like, go crazy. Have your whole team bring it, so that we can actually show this perk makes a meaningful difference and is a safety net and a second chance that survivors just don't need. Okay, let me show you guys my stats. Okay, I am a person who plays primarily survivor. I play a lot of killer though too. I play like 35% killer, right? About 65% survivor. What I care about is balance and fun and fairness. And this is not fun or fair. It's not interesting to run. For getting progress on gens, getting permanent time reduction for gens every time that the killer gets a hook is not fun. As a killer, getting punished permanently for hooking survivors, which is your objective, is not fun. How is this fun? When I saw that we were getting changes to Yunjin's perks in the PTB, I was excited because I thought, oh, this is going to be, we can finally take these perks that are just kind of boring and actually make them fun to use, right? Like, I like what they did with self-preservation, right? That's really interesting. They made it so that when somebody else gets hooked, you get the elusive status effect. So you can be kind of sneaky, right? Like, you can incorporate that into, like, you know, if you're trying to go for a Sabo perk or a Sabo build, right? You blind the killer as they're hooking them. You get the elusive status effect. You run away, right? Like, it's not crazy. It's not busted. It just makes you, you know, able to do some kind of fun playstyles, right? How is this fun? This doesn't even affect your gameplay other than making the match shorter. So thank y'all for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments. I really don't want to be like a doomer or like doom and gloom. I just want to show you guys this perk will make a difference, and it is a very strong perk, and it's something that's very unfun, and that's what really bothers me about it, and that's why I want to show you guys this is unfun, overtuned, and just fundamentally flawed, and it needs to be changed, period.